Good evening. This is opening the public hearing for the Needham Conservation Commission. It is August 26, 2021 at 7 p.m. And as a preliminary matter, my name is Janet Bernardo, Conservation Commission Chair, and permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. So I'm going to start off with the members and town staff, and then as we get to each article or each hearing, I'll call out the people that we're expecting to be part of that hearing. So members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Artie.
Here.
Bill.
Here.
Peter.
Here.
Stephen.
Here.
Sue.
Here.
Is Allison here yet? No. So we're waiting for Allison. Give me a yeah when she arrives. And staff members, Deb.
Here.
Clay.
Here.
Great. Okay. So good evening. This open meeting of the Town of Needham Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's orders suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public boards are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Conservation Commission is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. The general public is allowed and encouraged to ask questions during the meeting, which when directed by the commission chair and through the use of raise hand feature associated with the Zoom meeting app. Those that have questions or comments regarding a particular hearing will be called upon in the order they raise their hand, so please be patient. You can also just kind of yell out, raise your hand, jump up and down, because we do pay attention, try to pay attention. Clay is right on top of that stuff. Meeting materials, all supporting the program. Allison is on board. Allison, can you hear us?
I've been having a lot of trouble with getting on tonight.
Oh, well, we can't see you, but maybe that's okay. If maybe that helps. Maybe that helps your, your connection if you're not on video. But
it says the video's on.
yeah, now we can see you and we can hear you and you can hear us, I assume. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body and are available on the Conservation Commission website. The public is encouraged to follow along on using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each hearing on the agenda. I will introduce the applicant and or the consultant to begin their project presentation. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. Please hold your name. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any responses, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and please state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. All right, great. We finished that. Now, we're going to start with other business. Because we understand that 823 Charles River Street, DEP file number 234827, a request for certificate of compliance, should go relatively quickly. And we are expecting Bruce and Holly Johnstone, who I was talking to earlier. Can you hear us? You want to unmute yourself so we can hear you too if you needed. All right, Deb, you want to talk about this?
Sure. So this was a project where the lot adjacent to them that they own, that they were removing the existing house and creating a meadow area.
Oh yeah, I remember this. How's the meadow?
It looks, Clay has pictures if you at some point want to see some.
Yep. Bring up the pictures while Deb is talking, if that's okay. Keep talking.
Okay.
I'll get the pictures up. We can
So, yep, the meadow is looking very nice. Sorry, I don't know why the pictures are so bad on here. But so yes, the property is beautiful. The meadow is great. So they did need to put permanent bounds in, and they did need to put in some mitigation plantings. So John Rockwood had gone out and gave us an initial report on the plantings. And then we decided at the meeting when they came in for a certificate of compliance, that they could do the second and final monitoring, so that they didn't have to have the expense of John coming back out. So I did meet them out there, must have been the week before last. So the plantings that went in, for some reason, John had specified them going in an area that was underneath a pretty heavy existing tree layer. So they did have some mortality. I just think that light wasn't getting through necessarily. But I do think that they have met what was required, and I would request a complete certificate at this point.
Okay, we'll go through, before we go to the board, would Bruce or Holly Johnstone like to say anything beyond what Deb has said, or did she say everything you needed?
She said it all, I think.
All right. So, any board members have any comments? Allison? Any comment? You're on mute.
No.
No. Bill?
No comments.
Peter?
No comment.
Stephen?
No comment.
Sue?
No.
And anybody in the audience have anything to?
Janet, you didn't ask me.
Oh, Artie. Oh, I missed you. Sorry,
No.
Artie.
No comment.
I was going down my line here. Anybody in the audience have any comments or questions or things that they'd like to say about this project?
There are no raised hands.
Okay, so we are looking for a motion to issue the full certificate of compliance for 823 Charles River Street, DEP file number 234-827.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
That's second.
Thank you, Sue and Artie, and all in favor. Stephen,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Great. So thank you very much. I think your meadow looks beautiful, and we appreciate you being part of our environmental world.
Thank
Can
you.
Can I just ask, do you want to pick up the certificate, or do you want me to mail it to you certified mail?
Mail it would be very nice. Thank you.
Okay, and then you'll have to bring it to the registry to be recorded. But
Okay,
if you want to get in touch with me, I can explain that process.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you,
Thank you
Deb.
so much, Deb, and everybody.
Oh,
Thank you,
you're
Jennifer.
welcome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, 75 Wilson Lane, request for determination of applicability. Let's see, 75 Wilson. 75 Wilson. Okay, so Jason Patry.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you can hear us, you can talk, and do you want to present your project, 75 Wilson Lane?
Sure.
Do you know anything about this?
See here. So it's the site plan, give you the general overview. At the end of Wilson's Lane resides the Shawbell residence. Looking at, oop, come on. We're not zooming. to be, excuse me, two arrays placed right here with the bolded squares there. Looking at about 84 feet off of the property line, and probably ballpark 130 plus feet from the wetland limit back here. So outside of the 100-foot buffer zone.
So you're outside of the buffer zone. So what is triggering you to come in front of us if you're outside of the buffer zone?
Not entirely sure if there's more questions here. There's some notes. Additional easements and restrictions may encumber the locust parcel. I'm not sure.
I think Clay could probably clarify.
Yeah, so there is a small intermittent stream that runs from a wetland on the other side of Wilson down to that ponded wetland just below where the solar arrays proposed.
Is that not marked here?
Was that?
Is that not marked on these plans?
No, I don't see them. And I wasn't sure when we had first spoken, when you were speccing out this project, it was unclear whether there was something there based on the aerials. I was out at the site today, and it runs maybe 3 feet off the property line. It's not real close to where the solar arrays are going. And the reasoning for the RDA was that if this stream existed, which it does, it's within a mowed field, an area that isn't quite lawn, but it is a managed, essentially agricultural area. And it's more than 75 feet from the edge of that. And there's a substantial vegetative buffer that's remaining in place between the solar arrays and that stream that outlets there at the pond below.
So you see no
Yes.
trouble?
So within our jurisdiction or 100 feet from any of the wetlands so it's an intermittent stream, Clay, you think?
It is. It does not show up on USGS. The stream stats show it as about a 0.10 square mile watershed. So it doesn't meet any of the perennial standards.
So you're not taking down any trees or doing any grading. You're putting up these proposed solar arrays outside of our jurisdiction. Is that true?
True.
Okay. So it doesn't look like you're really within our jurisdiction. So I think we can, in my opinion, we can issue you a determination of applicability relatively easily, but I will go through the commission, see if anybody has any questions or comments. Allison?
I'm a neighbor, so I think maybe I should recuse myself. Is that?
Okay, I think that's fair. Artie?
No questions.
Bill?
No further questions.
Peter?
No comments.
Stephen?
No comment.
Sue?
No questions.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions or comments regarding this property? That they are requesting a determination of applicability to determine if they need to file further with the Conservation Commission. And that would be if they were doing a significant amount of work within our buffer zone, which it does not appear that they are. So if nobody has any more questions, I will take a motion.
So moved.
A motion to issue a,
Negative determination. So moved.
that kind of a first and a second, I think. I think I'm qualifying it that way. Okay, all in favor, Artie,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Allison has recused herself. Okay, great. Thank you very much for coming, and we appreciate your due diligence in presenting this project to us.
Thank
in
thank
the
you
event
guys.
you-
Ooh, sorry.
Do you have any questions? Jason, do you have any questions?
Oh,
for
I
us?
don't. I thought I was over talking someone there.
Nope. You
Alrighty,
just
no.
wondering, if you-
Thank
You're
you
good?
guys for your time. I will pass the message on, and I suppose we'll, probably end up meeting some of you guys in the future. And thank you, Clay, for your assistance there.
thanks so much.
All
Have a
right.
good night.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next project on the agenda is a continued notice of intent for 83 Rolling Lane, DP file number 234870. They were presented in front of us 2 weeks ago on August 12th. My understanding is you were waiting to go to ZBA Rolling Lane. We should have Scott Henderson. Is Scott Henderson here? Can you hear us?
I can.
And do you have anybody with you?
I don't think the applicant's here. We had
Flavia or
we
Matthew?
corresponded with Clay, and he mentioned that we didn't really have to be here tonight, but I figured I'd log in just for the sake of an appearance. But we were approved by ZBA and Design Review Board, so it looks like all of our permits are in order, and there were no changes to the site plan as a result of the ZBA application. So what's in front of the commission now is final. So.
Okay, so we did discuss this project last time. I think we agreed to have a waiver for soil testing because of the location and no trees were coming down. Is that correct? There's no
We had two coming down, but we're replanting alternate ones. I don't have the plan in front of me, but more than a 2-to-1. So
Clay, could you bring up that plan real quick?
Yep, just a moment.
This is the existing conditions. Is this everything?
this is the existing. There should be a proposed too. Second sheet on this PDF, Clay.
There we go.
Here we go.
There you go.
So in the back right corner, there's an existing play area that we're removing from the 25-foot no disturb and planting 2 new deciduous canopy trees in that area to revegetate it. We're also putting up 7 sort of screening evergreen trees in the back. We haven't called out as hemlocks now, but I think we'll go with the spruce just because you don't have to spray. The 2 that are coming down are pretty far up the existing slope, and they're well within the limit of the 2 terraces. So there's no way we could save those. They're kind of 2 lone trees. Where that lawn label is in the upper tier, sort of just north of that is where those are located. So those are 2 trees that are coming out. It's unavoidable, really, just because of the nature of the grading program. So.
You went to ZBA because of the walls?
Yeah, on the right-hand side, certain portions of the walls exceed 4 feet in height within the side yard setback. And that's a special permit issued by ZBA with a review by the Design Review Board for their aesthetic. So.
Great. Okay. Anybody in the board have any questions or comments? Allison?
No.
Artie? No, I think that was a no. Bill?
No.
Peter?
No comments.
Stephen?
No comment.
Sue?
No comment.
Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments regarding this project at 83 Rolling Lane?
No hands.
Okay, so if we have all the information we need, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the hearing for 83 Rolling Lane.
Sorry.
Second, thank you very already. Okay, all in favor? Stephen?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Allison?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Great. Thank you very much. The hearing is closed. We will discuss an order of conditions later on in the evening. You can stay on or you can.
I'll probably log off, so I'll be in
Right.
touch, Debbie and Clay. Thank you.
Thanks very
Appreciate your
much.
time.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to 68 Wilshire Park, DP file number 234873. This is a continued notice of intent. Okay, well done. Wilshire Park. Wilshire Park, we have Susan McCarthy.
MacArthur, yes,
Oh,
hi.
MacArthur, I'm sorry, I say it wrong every time. Adam Pace.
Hi, I'm on here as
Uh,
well.
And is Connor here as well?
No, I don't think he's on tonight.
No,
Okay. Okay, so you can hear us and we can hear you. Great. So could you, one of you want to do a presentation? Is Clay going to bring something up or are you going to bring something up?
I can, or Clay, if you have the plan that I sent you, you could bring that up.
There you
What's that?
I will get it up.
Thank you. There we go. You can zoom in on a little bit. So hi, I'm Susan MacArthur and I'm here with Adam Pace, the homeowner applicant. And I'll just kind of recap some of the items that the commission had concerns about and that we've addressed. So the commission at the last hearing had concerns about the dry wells being sized properly. And we understood coming out of that hearing that the commission was willing to entertain the installation of a rain garden below, I don't know if you can point to it, Clay, but on that lower tier, yeah, right there. That lower planting tier, which is partially within the 25-foot buffer zone, and direct the stormwater from the proposed addition to that rain garden, rather than put in a dry well. And the proposed patio is also going to be pavers, which will be on top of crushed stone. So that will also infiltrate. And so I don't know if you can kind of see, but we just put some lines coming off of the proposed addition. So there'll be, okay, so yeah, right there, as Clay is pointing to. So there'll be downspouts off of the new addition and they will then be piped to the rain garden. And I also had included a planting list for the rain garden species, suggested plants. I pulled those from, actually, I don't know if, yeah, Clay, if you can scroll down to, yeah, there's the plants, and then scroll down one more page. So I got them from the Native Plants of New England Rain Gardens, published by UNH. So there's multiple species in there, and you know, I pulled some and suggested some. Those species may change, but you know, they can be taken off of this list. All suitable for New England plantings, and
so the homeowner understands the rain garden and any maintenance that has to do with that, which is basically similar to landscaping and removing dead vegetation and weeding and that kind of,
right,
similar to any other landscaping.
correct. And also Connor, who isn't on the hearing tonight, is the landscaper who is going to be, who is well versed in, you know, installing rain gardens. And you know, we've already spoken, so he knows what he's doing.
Great. And so you want to have just get a little explanation about what it is, because you want to make sure that you keep a depression and don't all of a sudden add a ton of mulch so that you have a mounded system, because then that defeats the purpose. So get some good direction on how to take care of these plants, and you know you'll lose some along the way, and you put new ones in that you like and figure out which ones survive better, and you might need some kind of a something to reduce any flow, like stones or maybe a paver to at the outlets from your discharging point, so that you doesn't kind of make an erosion problem in the rain garden and kind of start making a gully. But it's, I think you have a good opportunity to make it look really nice, and it will be full functioning down there, I think.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'll admit I didn't know what a rain garden was prior to last meeting, but I had a chance to talk to Susan and Connor about it and appreciate it. Looks like it could be very nice and also better for what we're proposing here. So
Yeah, I think it can be very nice, and all my friends appreciate when I tell them all about rain gardens. So from the commission, anybody have any?
Oh, well, I have some more. Oh, if you want to ask them about the rain garden, but
That's all right. You can keep going. Sorry, we can.
Okay. And then another item that the commission brought up was the proposed patio within the 25-foot buffer. And as you can see, we kind of sliced it off. So it's now kitty corner to, so it's not extending into the 25-foot buffer. And, it'll create a little bit larger area in the rain garden for that lower tier, which is fine. And then the commission asked about the ash tree, and we did put that on the plan. It's Clay, if you want to, it's on the side of the proposed decks. Yeah, right there. So we're hoping that won't be impacted by the deck, and the plan is to keep it. Adam wants to keep it, so they'll make sure it's safe. Another item was the commission asked about compost filter tubes on the steep slopes, but in theory, the compost filter tubes are going to be they're going to be on the flat part of the grass at the bottom there. So that's pretty level in the back there on that grass. And then going up the side slopes, we don't think that will really, everything's going to flow down toward the back, back lawn. And so what we proposed was the compost filter tubes with silt fence behind it. And Clay, yeah, if you click on that and go to the last sheet, so you can see at the bottom here, it's got the filter tubes with the silt fence.
How are you going to get the equipment down there? Do we have this?
Oh, that's next. We're getting to that one. So the next item was somebody asked, how are we getting the access to the back? And what the plan is to, I don't know if I have any photos of that, but Clay, if you go back to the plan on the other sheet. Okay, so on the, whatever side that is, on the right-hand side of the house, there is the existing deck kind of sticks out. And so what they're going to do is take that, remove that deck off of the back of the house, then get the equipment back there, Bobcat or whatever, to do the plantings, the wall, the modular wall, and the planting tiers, and then install then take the equipment back out, install the addition, the patio, and the deck is how they tell me that's gonna happen.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, where you see proposed addition right now, that's exactly the footprint of our existing deck. And so that's all coming down, and the contractor and the landscaper have been coordinating to basically, once they demolish the deck, they're going to bring their small Bobcat back there, do exactly what Susan was saying, but not actually build the patio, just do the modular wall and create the tiers. And then at the end of the addition, they're going to come back and just finish off the patio.
And the 4 trees in the back, are those new or are those existing?
The what?
The 4 trees in the back property line?
Oh, those are proposed. Those are proposed. I believe they were red maples that were proposed to be planted back there. It's grass right now, so surrounded by a picket fence, right, Adam?
Yeah, I don't know if it's considered picket or not, but there's a wood fence back there.
Oh, yeah, okay. And then another item that we addressed is, let's see, the local bylaw fees. Apparently, we didn't calculate those correctly, so we have submitted another $100 to cover that cost, and I did confirm that with Debbie, and so that was submitted with this follow-up information. And then as well as the $1,000 request for waiver fee for working in the 25-foot buffer, which we would like to request a waiver from the waiver fee from the commission, being that we have pulled out the patio and then the wall is essentially, there is a wall there now. It's not modular, but it's building back up. So would like to request that waiver.
Anything else?
Oh, no, that's all.
Okay. I'm going to go to the commission members and see if anybody has any other questions or comments. I would just like to note that I appreciated you having that list of items and that we brought up and your response to them.
Thank you.
That was very helpful. Allison?
Hi, just two things that might be helpful for rain gardens. I saw that I know that they have just, that's an exhaustive list that they had there, so you're not going to use all of them, but some of them are really tall. And I'm not sure how much lower than the patio, like Joe Pye Weed is like 6 feet tall. So just make sure that you have the right height. Some of them get big.
Okay.
And the other thing is that rain gardens often are dry.
Right, yeah.
So just some of those plants that you quickly went through have to be wet all the time. So make sure that they can be dry or wet, or they won't do well. That's all. It's nice you're doing that. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was good information, Allison. I have Joe Pye Weed in my rain garden, and this year it's finally doing better, but that's because we got all that rain in July. Usually it starts off great and then it looks really sad pretty fast.
Is yours
They planted that at Logan Airport in the middle of like not a wet place. No, I didn't, another company, the hotel was, and it was gigantic. So I think it depends on where it is,
Yeah.
but any event, just it can be really tall.
Yeah, okay. Can be tall. Okay, Artie?
Just my apologies if this is already said and I missed it. I'm sorry about that. On the rain gardens, I know there was the first tier, and at some point there was talk about some more bushes below that. Is the higher tier, is the lower tier going to be a rain garden also? Are we going from rain garden to bushes? What are we doing there? My apologies if I missed that.
No, that's fine. The rain garden is just in that lower tier. So below that, you were right. You did see some plantings, and I think Connor, the landscape designer, was going to put in, I think he said rhododendrons. Is that right, Adam? Rhodies or boxwood?
Yeah, I think that's what he said the last time was the intent for those the lowest tier below that.
Yeah.
So the first tier down from, let's say, the patio is the rain garden. Then the next tier down are some bushes.
Right.
The lawn.
On the lawn, right.
On the lawn.
Yeah.
On the lawn.
Right.
Okay. If everyone else is good with that, I'm good with that.
Bill?
Is the wall lined? Is that how the rain garden works? So it doesn't leach out the wall, right? It's not a block wall. It's a concrete wall.
No, it's Clay, can I ask that you put that up again?
Wall detail again.
There is a photo of a the next tab over, and then just scroll up. So the photo that you're going to see is of something similar. Sorry, it's crooked, but there we go. It's something, so it's not going to be as tall or anything, but and obviously the rain garden isn't going to look as uniformed as this, but it was just for visual for you to see. So it's a modular block wall.
Yeah, but is it lined on the wall side, I guess? So, I mean, water's supposed to infiltrate the ground, not through, so the wall.
Right. Connor's not here, so I don't really know. I'm imagining there's going to be weep holes in the wall so that it doesn't compromise the structure. Which I think the rain garden will still function with the weep holes down below.
Okay. I don't know if
Yeah,
anybody else has that concern, that's all. Does the water just leach out the side of the wall? That's all. I didn't see a detail that showed that water will infiltrate back down.
Right. I mean, I think typically from what I've seen, they do put little weep holes in periodically.
Okay, all right, fine.
And you definitely want it to have a depression so that it goes into the ground. It might, if it's a lot of water, it could go into the ground and then find the weep holes, which would be kind of like the path of least resistance and go through the wall.
Right, lower, yeah.
Well, the weep hole would be down at the bottom so that it's
It'd be at
going
the bottom.
most of it's going to be absorbed in the soil. Although I understand what you're saying though.
Okay. I don't think it's a big problem as long as the majority of water leaches down through the majority of the soil.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with
Okay,
that.
that's all. No other comments.
Peter,
No comment.
Stephen,
No comment.
Sue?
Yeah, I think it looks wonderful. Those walls were just replacing some walls that were already there, right?
Well, the walls that are there are kind of like some rocks that are on top of each other. that
Oh,
are
that's
kind
that's
of
what-
wallish.
That's right. But
And
same-
now they're making a more defined wall, which
Okay,
is within our buffer zone.
that looks great. No comment.
Does anybody in the audience have any comments or questions regarding this project?
There are no hands.
So do we have everything we need?
I have a couple of comments if you.
Okay, you have a couple of comments?
Yeah.
All right. ready.
So I didn't know if you wanted a detail of the rain garden or the pavers on the plan.
Well, usually they are on the plan, like the erosion control. I was thinking about that. The erosion control detail, the pavers and the material that's underneath the pavers and in between. You would definitely don't want to have with your pavers, you don't want to put sand in between them. You want to put the little teeny like rice stones, because sand just has ants. You don't want the sand. So a detail would definitely be proactive. So having a detail of the wall on the plan, the rain garden, basically, so you understand that it has basically 9 inches of depth to the rain garden is typical. The landscape architect should be able to provide that for you. And the erosion controls and the pavers to show what's on there.
Okay, because we haven't gotten hard copies of the plan yet, so I think they were waiting to see if there was going to be any revisions. I'm also going to recommend some tree protection for the ash tree.
Yep.
So if they have a detail.
Down the
they
slope,
wanna put-
and does it look like, I mean, when looking at the grading and where that ash tree is, I'm assuming you're not getting near it with any new grading. You're staying kind of away from it.
It's on the other side. Yeah, it's on the other side. There's basically like a walkway that splits the yard into 2 sides. The ash tree's on the other side, and all this work that you just saw, I don't know, it's probably obvious in the plan, but it's on like one side of the yard.
So isn't that adjacent to the deck though?
It's adjacent to the back left corner of the deck.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the deck.
But it's a raised deck, so it'll just be a post, nearby, but the deck is raised. It's not like a solid structure right up against the roots or anything.
So are we comfortable with a plan being, so the hard copy is submitted to you, Deb, with this information on it? So we can close the hearing before, but you can't give them the order of conditions until that plan has been provided? Or do you want, are you more comfortable holding the hearing open and so we have that plan in place?
I'm fine with it. I can special condition a lot of it. So, I'm fine if they can get it to us.
Okay, so, but you just can't receive the order of conditions without having that plan hard copy with all the details on it. Does that
Right.
make sense? To both Susan and Adam?
Yep.
So send us the digital once you do it and 2 of the hard copies.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have any further comment or question? So understanding that a plan will have to be submitted to town staff before they actually receive the order of conditions, are we comfortable closing this hearing? And if so, can I have a motion?
I move that we close the hearing for 68 West Drive Park Road.
I second.
Okay, thank you very much. All in favor. Allison,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
I say everybody. Janet, aye. It's hard to decide. All right, so we'll close the hearing, but you won't get the order condition until you've submitted the plan with the details to them.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so now I think we'll do 631 South Street and 649 South Street.
Hey, Janet, did we have to vote on any waivers of the work or the waiver fees?
We'll do that when we talk about the order of conditions.
Okay.
So 631 South Street is DP file number 234872. 649 South Street is DP file number 234874. We will take them together because it's kind of a joint project. South Street, Emily Petro.
Actually, this is
Hello.
Brian from Metro West Engineering.
I'm here too. Sorry.
Emily's
Brian
my
Nelson.
colleague. Yep, thank you.
Great, you're both here. You can hear us. Nobody else is supposed to be here for this project.
That's correct.
Great. Okay, so we heard from DEP. What do you think?
I saw the letter late last night. I actually called the circuit rider this morning to talk to her about the letter. So I had, a couple questions and kind of one of the bigger questions for me is, and I've run into this in other towns, as they talk about tree removal being an alteration. So I asked DEP if they have really any policy about, how to quantify that alteration. And so she didn't really have an answer for that. She said, well, I think that's kind of up to you as the applicant to come up with something. So we're happy to take a look at that. I did ask Mrs. Geelan, or I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, if she had visited the site to look at the trees, and she said no. So she did admit to me when we spoke that she's gotten several NOIs she's reviewed with similar tree removals, and she didn't find a lot of merit to some of the tree removals. We feel that the trees that we're asking to take down are hazards, and that's the reason why. And so she really couldn't comment on that, but she did say if the trees are hazards, then they pose a risk, then they should be removed. We certainly, and we mentioned this at the hearing a couple weeks ago, we're happy to offer up some mitigation shrubs. Might be a better option than trees. Certainly happy to leave some fallen logs, in locations where we can leave them in the wetland areas. But I wanted to, we didn't submit a revised plan because I just really wanted to reach out to the commission tonight and see, if you had visited the site. And, I kind of got what we perceived as a pretty visceral reaction from the commission at the last meeting. And I just want to see if this project's a non-starter or not. And if it is, then, we'll go back to the owners and we'll let them know that. I'd like to think that we can meet in the middle someplace and we can put together a plan that compensates for the trees that we're asking to take down. And I guess, really what I'd like to pose to the commission is just to see what your thoughts were when you visited the site on the trees. And I know we talked a little bit about the less than pristine wetland, what your take was on that as well.
Well, I will let the board kind of start talking. I don't know if they went as a group. I did go this morning and looked at the trees. Some of them, unfortunately, I didn't have the plan with me when I was looking at them, and some of them were obvious because they had a tape around them, so I knew which ones were coming out, but I didn't know all of them that were coming out.
We flagged all the trees to be removed in pink, so I thought that would kind of pop out. There were 7 of them altogether.
Okay, so I was trying to decide if the pink was a wetland indicator or if it was a tree to be removed. So some of them I said like tree number 4. I'm like, oh, all right, it's tree number 4. Some of them it was obvious which ones they were, but I didn't necessarily understand each of them. However, I'm curious what the commission thought, who went to see it. And so let's see, Stephen, were you able to get over to the site?
I was not. However, I do live right around the corner. I've driven by there several times, and the photos were pretty self-explanatory. My concern is, or my problem with this is that maybe the wetland is not pristine, but that's because it's being mowed and manicured and taken care of, and it should be left to grow wild. That's the definition of the wetland. And I know there's an easement for the town through there, but there's plenty of easements for sewer and water lines. The town does not maintain them and has no intention to maintain them. So I don't think the reason that it's an easement is a reason for the homeowner to mow and to take care of the wetland or to disturb the wetland. I'd be interested to hear from, I have a hard time believing that the trees are classified as hazard. If you're walking around out there, maybe it's a hazard if it falls on you, but it's a wetland and you should not be walking in the wetland area. I don't know that any of the trees are hazards to fall on anybody's house nearby, and I'd be interested to see if anybody that was actually out there thinks that any of those trees are hazards to the structures of the properties.
Peter?
Yeah, so in fact, going out there, I think was very useful in interpreting distances and the scale of the plan, because in fact, it does look like at least a couple of the trees on looking at the property this way on the left side do pose a possible danger to the yard and into the house. So those trees, and I think they're just a couple of them, probably are legitimate hazard trees. What is done with them after they're dealt with is a separate question. But I think those are close enough to the house and to the yard to raise a problem. I agree with Steve that I'm a little confused about the mode area, and was actually looking for answers as to whether it needed to be mowed. Steve suggests maybe not. While we were there was a suggestion that this property had come before the commission at some point in the past because there'd been some mitigation involving invasives removal in a patch in that wetland. So I'd also be interested in see what the history is of what sort of orders have been issued for that area. I would say on the right side, on the other property, those trees seemed far enough away from the house and the yard not to be considered any sort of imminent risk. They may not be in good condition, but if we're going to be true to no alteration, I think I have a harder time seeing them as hazards unless they're interpreted as hazards someone walking in that wetland area. So those are my thoughts.
Artie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still at a great puzzling of why this even came before us to a large degree. If any trees are going to remotely be considered hazardous to any type of structure, we need the measurements of actually where they're going to fall. If we're even going to remotely consider that, which we don't have. And yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be considered, it shouldn't be mowed. There's plenty of easements with, in general, they're not mowed. Doesn't mean you want to plant a tree there, but they're not mowed. I see no reason for this to go really any further unless someone else comes back with a tree height that says it's actually going to fall, hit something. And that particular tree actually is in fact a hazard tree, not because it's mathematically can hit the house, but because it's actually at risk of actually falling at some point of doing that. And I don't mean some point in the future. Every tree is going to fall at some point in the future. At any point remotely soon, if it actually is that the health is at risk. The mathematical possibility that hitting a tree house when it falls does not make it a hazard tree. So I'm still, the only reason it's come before us is because of the fact that it's mowed, take out trees, make it look like something other than what it is. It's a wetland. It's supposed to be left alone. It's supposed to be doing its thing. It's not supposed to be manicured.
Is that area being mowed? That the easement area? Because I mean, it's certainly a lot of weeds, low weeds. And is it being mowed, the easement itself? Does anyone know?
I'd like to just clarify a couple things. In terms of the filing, really what precipitated this is it's tree number 7 on the plan, which is a 26-inch diameter or caliper red oak.
Can you pull that plan up, Clay?
That tree actually, it was a twin, and half of it actually did fall onto the Mitchell's trampoline in their backyard. And that's basically what started the Mitchell's inquiry into this. And so they got multi-tree out there to take a look. Only 2 of the trees are actually 3 of the trees are within the wetland. The rest of them are outside, when they're in that 25-foot buffer or no disturb zone, if you will. And again, most of them are dead. But there are several of them. There's another maple in the wetlands. Basically, if you look at it at eye height, there's a split in it. You can see right through it. I would characterize some of those certainly as hazards, and hazards that can reach the house. And one of the other things we mentioned at the last meeting is the Mitchells live at house 649, so the southerly property. Mrs. Mitchell's mother-in-law lives at 631, so they do actually cross between the 2 properties. So she's concerned about, basically, and what's already happened is, a tree falling in an area where people are active. And so I think that, that's the concern from the applicant. There are a lot of trees out there. They're only looking to take out the dead ones. And some of them, you can look at the ash trees you can see there's no canopy, branches are falling off of them. So I would consider them hazards. And again, Maltby did an analysis of the trees on the site. So that's why we're here. We're not here looking to thin out an area. The easement is not manicured lawn. It's basically, it's kind of got some ground cover on it. There is a history for this property where 2 notices of intent were filed, certainly as I've done work on this property over the last 10 years. The first one that was done around 2012 did do some invasives removal in and around the wetland. There was a pretty good knotweed infestation. A lot of that was removed. And the Mitchells were pretty diligent about doing that, as it took some time. So, basically, the commission in its previous iterations had walked the site, and basically the condition of the wetland area, none of that has changed since, and it had carried through prior orders. So we do have certainly a history of permitting with this commission on the property at 649, which is a property that has the easement.
Thank you. Bill, did you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add other than I found that DEP letter to be pretty interesting. I wish I had it 3 years or 4 years I've served, because I thought it was pretty clear about dead trees and wetlands and their importance. So
yeah, I thought it was good, and I feel like we have made those statements in the past, very similar statements to what DEP was saying, but it's every now and then it's nice to know that we're saying the same thing that DEP says. That keeping, the dead logs in the wetlands is for wildlife habitat, keeping a snag. So you're not cutting down an entire tree, you're keeping some 10 to 12 foot height that is allowed for the wildlife habitat and the birds and whatnot to kind of make their homes in. Allison, did we get to you?
I didn't get to go, but I will say that, I'm amazed there are any white ash alive in Needham left, because they all have that awful disease and they're almost all gone. So I'm not surprised that those are probably hazards. You're not even having seen it, and the elm as well. So I think that's what the crux is. Is it really a hazard? Is it really going to, die and fall over? Or is it structurally unsound? And that goes to the heart of interpretation of what a hazard is. And I do think that if a tree is basically dead, and it possibly could fall, not necessarily on a house, but in an area that's, that is outside of the 25, for instance, I think that a case could be made that should be taken down if it's dead, virtually dead.
Take it all the way down or take it
Well,
down?
no, I mean, in terms of have a
leave a snag of some sort.
Leave a snag, because I mean, a 26-inch red oak that's a double, I could see why one of it fell, because when you have a double, you don't have half a root system, because two little babies grow up together, and so they're unstable. It's typically unstable tree. I mean, the red maple, that's a big red maple. I don't know, it's right in the wetland. I mean, that makes me worried about cutting that down if it's alive.
I think,
but the ash, the two red maple, the 14 and the 28, I mean, are they really, what is the nature of the hazard of those two red maples? That I'd be curious.
So the 14 is number 4, is the one, it had a big tag on it. So I know that I saw that one. And it is a twin with half of it down. So that one, I was like, okay, one half is already down. And
okay.
Yeah. And I'm thinking the 28-inch red maple is the one that's leaning way over. Is that?
It is. It's the one with a split. You can see right through the tree at about, like I said, about eye level at about 5 feet above ground. There's a 2-inch crack in it that you can see straight through the trunk of the tree.
And it's leaning. It is
leaning over.
That's probably why it has a crack.
Back in the middle of the wetlands. And there was a very tall tree. There was a very tall tree that was definitely dead, but I don't think it was number 3. Is number 3 a particularly tall tree that's dead?
5 and number 1, the 2 white ash are pretty tall, and they're just barren of all vegetation.
Yeah, those are gone.
Maybe it was what I saw. It was.
Well, it sounds like there are issues with these trees, even though they're in a wetland. I mean,
but they are in the middle of the wetland, and it's totally not something that we would typically allow or accept. I mean, you'll possibly.
Yeah, these trees, when you're looking at these numbers and you're looking at the distance from the house, I don't know if any of these trees are tall enough to hit the house.
Can I speak?
Yes, you may, Sue.
I was there, and if we had had a hurricane on Saturday, to the left, the 2 trees to the left that were tagged, the one further in was just leaning. It was dead. If that had fallen, it would have gone in the house or close to it. I have to say that.
But it wouldn't have. But it wouldn't have hit the house. None of these trees are tall enough to hit the house.
It was pretty near. But my other question is the manicured area with easement. The manicured area with easement is. How long has that been like that?
I started working on this project in 2012, and it was in that condition. Again, turf lawn right up to the wetlands. So nothing has changed in terms of the way this property's been maintained. I think the Mitchells acquired the property at 649, somewhere around 2012. We did our first notice of intent at that time. And again, the ground cover, easement coverage, none of that's changed. Like I said, the only thing that's really changed was there was a pretty good clump of knotweed in a bunch of different places in the wetland and the no disturb zone, and a lot of that was removed, and pretty successfully. So I think there were improvements made by the owner. And, you know, I think what we'd like to do is get the opportunity to, you know, measure the heights of the trees, and see, you know, I agree that some of them might not fall on the house, but I think that they certainly pose a fall hazard to people walking around the area and the lawn adjacent to the house. And I don't know, about today's litigious society, I'd be worried about that, saying that the trees can't come down if, you know, if something were to happen like what happened with their trampoline.
There were 3 dead trees and four trees that were rotten at the bottom. Is that what it was?
Yeah, there were 2, there was a maple and the large oak had, they had decay at the base, you know, basically issues at the base. 3 of the trees, and 2 of them being the ash trees, were just dead. The elm tree was dead. And there's 1 snag, basically, that's just been totally overrun by bittersweet. I don't think that can be saved either.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a comment about a tree that's dead or very structurally unsound in a wetland that's surrounded by a lot of other trees. Everybody's talking about this might hit somebody, but when a tree is really structurally unsound and it falls, it takes down a lot. It can take down a lot of good trees and other plants. And so that's something to consider in terms of wetland health as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we are universally kind of struggling with this, or at least I am struggling with it, because if this was, in the middle of a wetland, we would never allow you to go in and take trees down. Because it's basically in these lawns, it makes it a little trickier. I personally, you would never let you take the entire tree down. It would need to be, a snag would need to be left for any of them. But I wasn't able to really determine. I definitely saw the 14-inch red maple. I definitely saw the one that was leaning way over. I could understand that they were dead, but they're also kind of in the middle of a wetland. So it was kind of like, so they're dead trees that are in the middle of wetland. And I don't know, is this a non-starter? I guess I'm still struggling with that part. And I think the board is mixed from what I'm hearing.
Well, we've been told things without proof. Basically, we've been told they are going to hit a house if they fall without proof. Right now, I don't see that. I'm looking at the measurements of the distance from the house to the nearest tree that's looking to be taken down. 100 feet perhaps looks like the distance. I can measure tree heights by looking at satellite imagery with LiDAR. I can see the heights of these trees. Right now, I don't see a tree hitting the house. I mean, we're being told that if we don't do something and if the tree falls on a lawn and someone's walking there, we're going to be held liable. That's basically what we're being told. That doesn't sway me. It just doesn't. I mean, if there's a wetland right there are trees right there. If a tree is going to hit a structure, that's different. But we've been given no proof that that's going to be the case.
And DEP basically has told us this is not permittable.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm kind of at a loss for what to do. If anybody has an opinion, I don't know if you want to go back and because the trees that are in the well, I mean, Allison has a good point that if a tree comes down, it could take other healthy trees down with it. I think that personally, the tree that was well bent over is going to fall on what is probably kind of lawn, open area. I would like to believe that a person would not be standing underneath that tree, just, the moment it comes down. It will come down someday. You can tell it's about to. But I don't know that we can just say, great, go take it down. And even if it did fall down, we would want to leave it in the wetland. And if somebody has to step over it to get from point A to point B, they step over it.
Well, we have no issue with leaving fallen logs, and we have no issue with leaving snags to the degree that, again, that there's no safety issue with those. There are a couple trees that are, cracked at the base, and I honestly don't think an arborist would feel comfortable leaving a snag. But if, and I mentioned this at the past meeting, if it's possible to do so, the applicants are happy to do that. They certainly don't want to remove stumps or anything like that. So it's not, again, that we're trying to clear cut. It's just really, with the foot traffic going through there, I think that's the owner's anxiety. And I get that. I'm not saying that all the trees will fall and hit the house, but there are a couple of them that will. And, maybe what I should do is attach the photos of the trees that fell on the trampoline in the lawn area, because, that one was pretty compelling to me as well. It's not a house, it's not a structure, but, kids do play on it and people congregate there. So, again, so it's just, that's where we're coming from. It's not where I understand your perspective, and we're just, trying to figure out if this is an absolute no, then we won't go any further. If we think there's some middle ground that can be reached, and I hope there is, we're happy to add more detail to the plan and basically specify how each tree be felled. If it's going to be, what will remain, where the logs will be placed, so we're happy to provide any information. I just didn't want to go through that exercise if, the answer was not right now.
If a tree is,
Do we take like a straw vote to feel like, is this something that if he comes back with more compelling information, maybe we're looking at a tree by tree analysis, and or do we want to have a straw vote to say this is not going to pass at all?
Janet?
Yes.
If there's potential for a tree in a wetland, or if it will fall, it falls outside the wetland, then that would be permitted to be cut as a snag. Is that correct?
I think,
Well,
I mean, once it's fallen, I guess I don't understand your question. Sorry,
In
Sue.
other words, if the tree's going to fall outside the wetland, like for instance on personal property, or I think with the DEP comments, it indicated that if that were the case, if it weren't going to fall within the wetlands, yeah. If we're going to fall outside of the wetlands onto, maybe a structure or lawn or outside the wetlands, that it would be permitted to be taken as a snag.
Oh, is the tree starting in the wetlands, or is the tree starting outside the wetland?
A tree in the wetland, what we're talking about, these 7 trees.
I think Sue's kind of going over what DEP's comment was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how we decide which way a tree is going to fall.
Yeah.
I can see the situation.
You can actually could, in some instances, figure that out, because if it's leaning, 40 degrees.
Yeah.
Right, but I don't know how
on that side,
DEP.
it's going to chances are it's going to fall that way. You can in some cases figure it out.
And I've
Right.
definitely been in some wetland areas that have been like heavy storm have come through and winds have come through and demolished areas because of all trees falling. And it doesn't look good. Maybe lots of critters can live in those logs, but it certainly it does not leave an attractive wetland in the end. But I don't know. So I am not sure what to do about this. So I guess maybe Clay, if you could take that down, that image down. Thanks. Can we take just a straw vote on whether this applicant should come back with additional information, or if we feel strongly that we will not allow any of these trees to come down, or any of the trees in the wetlands anyway to come down. Is everybody okay with that, with making an opinion on that?
If a
Stephen?
tree, if a tree is going to hit a house, then I'm certainly okay with the tree being dealt with. If it's not.
So if they come back and are able to kind of show us that that's a possibility.
Yeah, if mathematically it actually can hit the house with actual measurements and distances and angles.
So you're willing to hear some more information?
If we're being told that something's going to happen with multiple trees, it sounds like, where I don't see, without being 100 feet away from the house, right now, I'm not seeing that being the case.
Stephen?
I think in my mind, the applicant has a high bar to get over, but I am willing to listen to any argument they may want to make.
Peter?
Yeah, I agree. I'm willing. I think that the trees that are likely to fall onto the property in the living space, I'm willing to listen to. The ones that supposedly pose a risk to someone doing a pass-through through an area that's a non-disturb, labeled a non-disturb area, that I have less interest in hearing.
There, Bill?
Yeah, agreed. I think if I'm the homeowner and I have, there's a threat of something hitting my house, I want the opportunity to remove that threat, but it does have to be proven. So I'm willing to entertain.
Allison? You're willing to entertain, is that what you just said? Sue?
I'm good for more info, particularly on a couple of trees. Yes.
Okay, so I think you heard from the commission. I'm in agreement with that concept. It's really hard to justify a tree that is going to fall within a wetland to remove that. I think Allison did have a good point on her end for if it could potentially take down other healthy trees. But some of the ones I saw didn't look like that was a possibility either. So if you are interested in pursuing and providing more information, but it is, as Stephen said, a high bar. So know that you may put a lot of work into something that you may not be happy with the final outcome.
I understand that fully. I guess I'd just like to kind of read that last sentence of the letter from DEP, where it says, if the trees in the BVW are deemed hazards, e.g. if they will fall outside of the wetlands, not within the wetlands, it is the preferred method to leave an 8 to 12 foot of trunk standing as wildlife habitat. So what I'd like to do is see in the interim if I can get Ms. Geelan, who wrote this letter, out to the site, and I want to see if looking at the trees changes her perspective. So I'd like to do that, and maybe I can do that. And if Clay or staff could meet us out there, we'd like to try and do that too. What I also wonder is if there's a town arborist or a tree warden or something like that, who's, kind of sitting on the other side of the table from us, who could go out and take a look at these trees and offer their opinion. And, we've got Malfi who is looking at this. Maybe somebody on your side might have some more insight. So I'm just trying to think of, other ways to kind of, to reach outside and just to get different opinions as to, I'm a civil engineer, I'm not an arborist. So
Right.
This is, the Wetlands Protection Act, I know, and I'm very familiar with. Trees, not so much. So I'm taking an arborist word for it. So maybe there's a third party or somebody that could look at this, and maybe that would give some more comfort to the commission members knowing, hey, this is an 85-foot tall tree is designated by an arborist, and it's got a risk of falling, on a footpath, or it's got a risk of falling on a house, and they may be able to opine on that better than me.
Yeah. Well, Ed Olson is our tree warden. I know that he has a very busy schedule, so I'm not sure that, I've put him up to do things before. He has not appreciated it. So you can certainly call him and see if you can ask his opinion on something, and you do have a letter from an arborist, so he, I'm sure, will appreciate what that letter says.
Okay.
And I think maybe Allison will have an opportunity to go back to the site, and anybody else that maybe hasn't, maybe Stephen will walk around the site. I'll go back now that I understand that everything that's pink is one of the trees. It wasn't totally clear to me when I was out there this morning that
And I'm
that's.
happy to meet anybody out there, flexible for mornings, weekends. Again, I just think it's important that everybody sees the trees because they are, in my opinion, they're in rough shape. So if there's a consensus or if people want to meet individually, if you can do that through play, I'm happy to walk you through and show you which ones are there.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Jan, I'd like to be clear about one thing, what we were told at the beginning of this 2 weeks ago. And just take this into account, please. I forget your name right now, but in any case, my apologies, budget things here right now. And that is, we were told at the beginning that these trees wanted to be taken down and almost leave nothing. Basically, the statement to us was, well, we might be willing to leave a little something, but almost nothing. So we're getting pushback left and right to try to even get to a point where we are here. So, we need, again, compelling evidence that a tree is going to pose a hazard to a structure. And it's tough when we get pushed back to even leave anything which is supposed to be in a wetland, as opposed to try to make the wetland pristine. Wetland is not supposed to be pristine from a garden standpoint. That's not the definition of a wetland. So when we're being stated that the project, the applicant may be willing to leave something there, or maybe a little something, or maybe leave a little something in place, that doesn't help us.
Well, if I can,
That doesn't help us understand.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Well,
if I can speak to that, because I think this is a point that needs to be, addressed.
No, that doesn't help us understand that the appreciation of what we're doing here, what's supposed to be left. So you need to come back, in my opinion, with an appreciation of what our job is in protecting wetlands. So
I understand that fully.
And also a mathematical.
Stop. What I heard, hold on, Brian, what I heard was that there are some trees that you could leave as snags, that there are some trees that are rotted at the base, so you didn't think a snag would live. So that was the statement that was out there. And is that a true statement?
That is a true statement. And I opened up the hearing by saying that the applicant is willing to plant, within reason. We didn't offer any of that up is because we reviewed this plan with staff, and again, I didn't think this would be an issue, and shame on me for that. But if we knew restoration plantings or some kind of restoration would have helped, we certainly would have offered that on the plan. And I think if you look back at the permitting history for this project and other projects I've worked on in town, myself personally as a licensed engineer in our firm, we're pretty proactive and we want to do the right thing. So Mr. Crocker, with all due respect, I do get what you're after, and I'm trying to essentially make a compromise between safety and improving the wetland if we can. If that involves some invasives removal and some restoration of lawn areas, we're okay to do that. If this project isn't going to go anywhere, then there's no point in me putting together more plans. And that's what I'm asking the commission for tonight. And what I see is, I see 6 maybes. So in that terms of that straw vote, I really don't have anything concrete to say why move forward with this.
So that you can bring that to your client. And
I've got a client who spent, thousands of dollars with an arborist and a significant amount of money with us to survey the property and delineate wetlands, under the guise of, doing things the right way. And, again, here we are. I think they're frustrated, to put it nicely. And we'll do the best we can. And believe me, I want to work with the commission, and I want to have something at the end that everybody's happy with.
Yeah.
I think the safety factor definitely deserves another review, maybe with some more definitely with some concrete evidence.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you would like us to continue this at the moment?
At the moment, yes. Like I said, I'll reach out to DEP tomorrow and see if I can get the circuit rider out to the site and get her take on it. We'll, in absence of, an arborist, and, I don't want to make this sound adversarial, but I was hoping a tree warden or maybe another arborist, maybe that you recommend, could take a look at these trees and agree or disagree. And again, I think that's part of the negotiation. If they don't think there's a hazard, then, that changes the perspective. And again, we can talk about each tree individually. And so, there may be one or two of these trees that might fall and not pose a hazard to anybody. And if that's the case, we'll leave them there and let them fall. There is the one snag that is leaning up against another tree and is getting ready to fall. So I know some of them are hazards, and I'm not an arborist. So that's all we're trying to do is just, again, find out if it's an absolute no, then just let us know that, and we won't waste anybody's time. And, I'm sorry I've wasted your time so far. If there's something that we can do, we're happy to try. But, I've given you my word to say that, we'll do whatever we can to restore and leave trees to the snags to the best extent we can. I just don't know that answer.
Okay, fair.
I
Would you
just
like-
wanna, if I can add, Janet, that I don't think that Eddie Olson, he's not making not making a habit of going onto private property to look
I
at
get that.
trees, just because he is very busy. And so I don't think he's gonna necessarily be an option. Just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, well, we will think it through. We'll all go back and you see what you can come up with, and we just cannot guarantee to you that this is something that we can get to the finish line that your client may be looking for. So we're willing to listen to more of your findings, if that's the direction you want to go, but we are struggling with the idea of cutting trees in a wetland.
One thing I would like to also add, it would be not great if it were overlooked. The site is currently impacted by a substantial amount of Asiatic bittersweet. So if anybody's going back out to conduct any site visits, I think that if this project does move forward and if there is some form of approval, I do think that the site would be greatly benefited by some kind of removal of that, and that any either restoration plantings or trees that are left in place, they're very likely to be overtaken, I think, within the next couple of years, just because it is extensive in areas on the site. So just however that factors in, or if anybody's getting new eyes on the site, just keeping that in mind.
Thank you. Thanks, Clay. Would you like to come back in 2 weeks, or do you want to give it 4?
Why don't we say now 2 weeks, just so we can, if we need to continue out, we can do that. Again, if anybody wants to visit the site, I'm happy to meet them out there. So I would throw that out there too. We were out there last Wednesday morning. Happy to do that again, because again, I think looking at the actual trees and the site is beneficial. So I throw that out there. What I'll try to do is get a little bit more of a robust letter from Maltby Tree as the arborist who documented the condition. And I think maybe at that point regroup. I guess what I would ask at the next meeting is, again, I got a bunch of maybes tonight. At that next meeting, if this is a non-starter, just let us know and we'll stop wasting everybody's time. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this. I know it's not an easy issue, but I do know that, our client, a resident, fairly long-time resident of the town, has concerns, and, she's in the past has done some pretty significant invasives removal. I think if you look back at that original order that we prepared and notice of intent we prepared in 2012, there were some pretty big improvements made from what the existing condition was back then, and it remains in effect today. So, we don't take it lightly. Again, that's all I can say. I appreciate your time tonight, and I'll reach out to Clay to see if anybody's got interest in visiting the site And, we'll get to work on trying to, expand the tree inventory and what the arborist recommendations are. And maybe we'll have them attend the next meeting as well.
Thank you. And Deborah Clay,
I think DEP is going to be key in this. I think getting more input from them
Mhm.
will be key. DEP.
I'll be pretty impressed if you get DP out there.
Yep, well, I'm
Um,
gonna try that tomorrow because I talked to her today and, when she heard that the trees were legitimate hazards, and again, maybe my take on that is wrong, I don't think so. But when she heard they were legitimate hazards, she started whistling a different tune. So I think maybe if she can visit the site, and we'll push for that. If she's a circuit rider, that's what she should be able to do, and we'll try to make that happen.
And Deb or Clay, if you could get us a copy of that 2012 order, send it around to the commission members, that would be, I think, helpful for us.
Mhm.
So we're looking for a continuation of 631 South Street, DEP file number 234872 till September 9th, 2021. Can I have a motion?
Moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Stephen,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Aye. And now we need a continuation for 649 South Street, DP file number 234874 to September 9th, 2021 at 7 PM.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Stephen,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Allison.
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Great, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have 15 Heather Lane. So,
Or we have Grosvenor as well. I don't even know.
so is 53 Heather Lane and 15 Heather Lane two different projects?
Yes.
Ah, I was thinking they were all one and the same. So.
No, so do
we
you want to do 98 first?
Oh, I checked it off.
Yeah, because the other three are kind of all together.
I'm sorry. Okay, 98, yeah, I totally checked it like I already did it. Okay, 98, we opened the hearing for 98 Grosvenor Road, DP file number 234875. This is a continued notice of intent. And what do we have? Diane is here?
Yes, yep.
Are you with others? Kimberly and Walter Wolf?
Yep, they're here with us this evening.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
We can hear you. Great. And
Good.
anybody else? Jared?
Jared, I don't believe is with us this evening.
It actually looks like Jared might be in the attendee side. I can pull him over.
That would be great.
All right, Diane, are you going to present this? And will you?
Yep. Yep. Unfortunately, I don't have my plan with me this evening, but there was minor changes. We were concerned with one tree, which we did take a look at, and we decided to remove the one tree, and we added a tree and 3 shrubs in its place. So thank you for that. So we do have that one other tree coming down on the back part of the property. And again, we did add another tree to the line on the easterly side there. So we added 1 tree and 3 shrubs to replace the 1 additional tree that we were removing. There was also some questions, and Jared could answer this in regards to the wall. Jared, are you available to speak to that? I think he answered those questions last time anyway, in regards to the weep holes.
I'm here, Diane. if you can hear
Okay. Yep, we can. So the weep holes were not always required, but for this particular type of wall, it is required to allow seepage from the inside of the wall. We were waiting for our DEP number, so I believe that was really the bulk of what we needed to speak to this evening.
Yeah, my notes kind of talked about trees, backwash, and moving the infiltration system. Which I think that was just what I scribbled down as something that was being discussed.
Right,
So-
the infiltration system is being moved. This house came to you, I believe, 2 years ago, so we're just moving the location outside of the pool.
Great.
Yes, and the backwash, I thought that was on the plan, but I'm not seeing it there. We were gonna put a washout behind the shed there, but I'm not, I can't quite see it. But it will be, I will make sure it's highlighted for the final plan prior to picking up or releasing the order. We're gonna put basically a pit behind the shed that will allow for the backwash from the pool.
Bill, does that work for you?
Yep, that's fine.
And the wall is less than 4 feet tall, but that one tree you felt like you couldn't save, but the 13-inch maple you are saving because that's not actually on your property.
Correct.
Be careful not to hurt the roots of that tree.
Yes, yep.
And I do have a question. So it looks like, so that dark line that's at the property line is basically 50 feet from the wetland? Is that true? No.
Yeah, the 50,
No.
the 50,
60.
the 25 is up by, yeah, where his cursor
Okay,
is.
that's 64 foot is from what? What's that measurement?
From the shed.
To the wetland?
Correct.
Okay, so then there's another 40 feet, 35 feet. I'm looking at those 5 trees that are, I believe, red maples is what you're proposing at the moment. And
No, yes.
The trees are, yes.
so there's 35 feet for 5 trees. Allison, does that work with red maples?
Yeah.
35 feet, you can fit 5 trees and 35 feet and they're perfectly fine. Okay.
Well, the thing is that you can plant trees really close together. It's just that when they grow in time, when they're young, they're fine. But in 30 years, some of them will decline. The ones that do better on the ends, for instance, will get much bigger. And the ones more in the middle won't grow as much. So
It's fine. So you don't have a
fine.
big issue with.
I mean, I would rather stagger them like this,
Zigzag.
not just in a line. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we were a little restricted on the lot because I know you do, or you prefer the trees to be replaced within your jurisdiction. So as you can see with the pool and all in the play area, it did kind of restrict us a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just saying stagger it a little bit, you know how, you know what I mean?
Give them a little bit more space.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little. Okay, so does any commission members have any other questions regarding this project? Stephen,
No comment.
Peter,
No comment.
Artie,
No, no comment.
Bill,
No comments.
Allison, Sue.
No comment.
Okay. Does anybody in the audience have any comment regarding this project?
There is nobody else in the audience.
Okay, so, and thank you for being so patient through all that. I missed you guys trying to do all the easy ones before the harder ones. So if we don't need any more additional information, I will take a motion to close this hearing for 98 Grosvenor, DEP file number 234875.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Sue,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Stephen.
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Great. Thank you very much for your patience. Have a great night. It is
Thank
only
you.
8:30. We're not doing too bad.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so 15 Heather Lane and 53 Heather Lane, well, which was formerly 766 Chestnut Street. Okay, that's what screwed me up. They're the two lots. 766 Chestnut has now become 53 and 15. Is that true?
Yes. So lot 1 is 15 Heather Lane, and what was 766, the existing house, is now 53 Heather Lane. So, and then we go down.
But
to
766 used to be all of it, and then it got divided.
Correct.
Okay, so 766 is now 15 and 53.
Yes.
Okay, and I know, so Deb, should we take the partial certificate of compliance first?
So the partial certificate of compliance is going to be based on the amended order.
Right.
So we should take the amended 53 Heather Lane first?
I would think so.
Okay. All right, so let's start. We're going to open the hearing for 53 Heather Lane, formerly 766 Chestnut Street, DEP file number 2348858, a request for amended order of conditions. And this project, the intention is to separate the two lots.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, so, so this is the plan to separate the two lots? This is the amended order of conditions.
So this is the amended order of conditions, and what the amendment would do is to recognize the new lot lines for what was formerly 766, to provide the proper plan reference, that the plan itself for that restoration plan has been revised to show that it's lot 2, and the actual square footage that's remains for that lot.
And then we have a plan that shows that, I believe.
We do, yes.
Are you gonna call it up or is? Clay
Clay,
gonna-
could you call that one up? And if not, I can grab it.
Okay, so this is the amendment. The amendment to the order of conditions is to recognize that there's now 2 lots. And that 766 is now 53 Heather Lane. And the order of conditions for 766 is being amended to reflect 53 Heather Lane. So, and this plan is associated with that.
Right, so as your town council had suggested that it would be appropriate to amend the order, because not only are we changing, we're not just changing the lot designation, we're actually changing the street address.
Right.
So
It almost makes it easier, I think, to change the street address.
Well, it makes it easier, I think, as Deb pointed out, it makes it easier to track it in the title.
Right.
And in doing this, it completely makes sense to do an amendment as opposed to a partial certificate. Because now you have a clear chain of title for how this goes forward.
Okay, so what we eventually need to get to is a motion to issue the amended order of conditions to reflect this plan and the address change in the divided lot. So we'll start with anybody in the commission having any questions or concerns about this project. Stephen?
No comment.
Peter?
No comment.
Artie?
No comment.
Bill?
No comment.
Allison?
No comment.
Sue?
No comment.
Okay, so now I'm looking for a motion to approve the amended order of conditions reflecting the new address and the plan associated with it.
Say, so moved.
Can I have a second from somebody?
Second.
Thank you, Artie. And Clay or Deb, whoever is taking notes, understood how that motion was supposed to actually be read. Okay.
Yes.
To make sure we're saying all the right words. Okay, so all in favor, Stephen,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Hi.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Okay, great. So that one is done. So now do we go to the other business or do we go to 15 Heather Lane?
The, so,
I think, I feel like the request for partial certificate of compliance will be easy now, won't it?
right, right.
So for other business, we're gonna take 766 Chestnut Street, which is now 53 Heather Lane, because we just amended it, to DP file number 234858. They are requesting a partial certificate of compliance.
For lot one. So what we want to do is if someone goes back in the history and that does their deed searching, they're going to see that this was all one big parcel. And now lot one still would be encumbered by that original order of conditions. But we want to keep that, so we're amending the order to just reflect a new lot line change and a plan reference, but we should, to clear up the title, issue a partial certificate of compliance to simply release lot one from that order of conditions. It's just really something just to clear up any potential future title problems. So
Debbie, you good
Yep.
with the wording of that? Only because it
Well-
almost seems to me that it should say, instead of 766 Chestnut Street, well, that's the original DP file number. That's what it's associated with. So we're just issuing
So
a partial
we're
certificate.
gonna be referencing the amended order.
not for lot one.
Right, so the amended order is the two lots.
Yeah,
Okay, so what
Which
we
one-
just said, we have an amended order that now has associated two lots associated with it. And now we're gonna give a partial certificate of compliance to one of those lots.
yes. To lot
Okay.
one.
So, okay, so what we just did, all right. So I need a motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance to release 15 Heather Lane from the DP file number 234858.
Second.
All in favor, Sue,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Stephen.
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Okay, so hopefully we did that correctly. That was the intention. We all had very good intentions on that. So now we are up to 15 Heather Lane, Lot 1. This is a continued notice of intent under the Needham General Wetlands Protection.
Yeah.
Number 19. Because you were coming back to
So I had,
understand where the sewer connection was and all that.
So, right, so after the meeting, I went out to the site and met with the developer and the people who installed the utilities and discovered that I had used tie cards to establish where the stubs were for the utilities. And when we went out and worked with the developer to see exactly where these stubs were, I have revised the plan to show them in their proper location. And now there are stakes out on site, they're painted, they're all keyed out as to where everything is. And if I may share my screen.
Yep.
This is the colored version of the plan that I submitted. We revised, as you can see now, before the way the tie cards are laid out, nothing made sense. And the fact that we went out and located them made all the difference in the world. Because now our sewer stub is right in front of the property. It, as someone pointed out, would make sense. So we have our gas, our water, our sewer stub. We have two electric connections. The lights out here are all attached to the individual houses. There's no electricity run down the street for the lighting. So there are individual connections for both the light, and the house itself, and then cable and TV come in the front. So it worked out that I have moved my erosion control barrier out to around the toe of slope around the 110 and then out the 100. And moved the plantings around, some to add buffering along the property line in this area here, and then brought it out along the limits. The trees out here are, it's not thickly forest, it's not thickly wooded, so I put the trees kind of in and around the edges so that they can still capture enough light along with the shrubs. The shrubs will, the goal would be that it forms another barrier like the edges have done of the woods now. So we, again, moved the erosion control barrier out because the utilities were now all coming across the front. I've shifted the roof infiltration, combined it and shifted it over to the side so that it would clear up everything in this area here. And that's
Now you're proposing to take down 12 trees. Is that what this shows?
yes. So now
I think it's 13. Or that's
so
what
now
it
I've
said.
got 13 trees that are
Yeah.
coming down, and I've planted 20 trees and 24 shrubs.
And what happened to those big oak trees?
So
Did they not make?
I worked around the trees here. I basically came out around the trees that were sitting here, the oak trees. I pulled the
So
line-
did the oak trees did the oak trees survive or not survive?
Yes. So I pulled the line out around the trees so that all the oaks that were clustered at the.
Oh,
top-
good.
Yeah, so they are all protected.
Okay, I feel better about that. Because the other trees are smaller.
There is, I think, one larger one in there. I have 11s, 10, 6.
There's
I
a
do have
21
one-
inch. Okay, there's one 21 inch in the back.
There is one, yeah.
I did actually stop by this site also, and I saw that sewer where we thought it was. I think who did I bump into? Maybe Billy Piersack or something. So I appreciate that you went back and are now saving some of those trees.
Well, I think it would have been helpful if I had done that before. With tie cards, you usually think you've got them, but it's how you interpret them, I guess.
But there's still quite a few trees coming down within our buffer zone. They are pretty close to the house. And they are outside the 50-foot. So commission members, I'll let people have their opinion. Peter?
Yeah, I'm much happier with this plan.
Bill?
No further comments.
Allison? You might be on mute if you're talking.
Did it go off? Oh, good. It's okay.
You're Sue?
No comment.
Artie?
The only really question I have is really pertaining to the big oaks that were being left near the, let's call it the grass line. I mean, those trees probably have a pretty big canopy. So what is the health of those trees? How is that going to be affected by how that lawn's being dealt with? That is my question.
So there isn't any grading going up to within, it's almost 20 plus feet away from the tree. So we can do this.
Could we have that back up here on the
Sure,
screen,
yep.
wherever that came down for?
Absolutely. Hold on 1 second. So there's these. So we could do, we could also do the tree protection around these here.
Yep.
I think that would be helpful. We have the barrier out here and it's probably but the total slope is in this area here, so it's possible that we can certainly do tree protection around these to further protect them along with.
You mean temporary protection as the work is going on, you mean? Is that what you
Well,
mean?
I guess that's what I thought, that they're not proposing to take down the trees or, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm ignorant about this, you know, but some of us on the commission are not. I mean, I know there's the drip line from the canopy of a tree has is greatly related to the health of the tree. So I'm just making the comment of if there's work there's grass being planted, there's work being done, there's equipment being moved. We've had issues before with the roots, the health of the tree, when we're starting to all of a sudden get close to the tree itself. I'm just raising that up as something that is, I just want to make certain the tree is protected. The health of the
So,
tree.
yeah, I agree with you on that, Artie. So this dashed black line you have that I believe is some kind of erosion barrier, what does that look like?
It's a filter mitt.
So could you add maybe like that orange construction fencing along there? So you don't have a lot of space between that line. You probably aren't going to grade up to those trees. Maybe they're 5 feet away from that line. But you don't want any equipment to back into them.
So if we put just to protect this edge, if we put the orange construction fence in this area around the end of the house, like this here?
To protect any trees that you're trying to protect, so it's very visible and you don't have equipment backing into them. I mean, you could add more tree, I mean, some of those are new, so you don't obviously gonna plant them later.
Okay.
So, tree protection is healthy, and making sure that the roots don't get pounded down with equipment driving over them. But I think you can do that with this grading plan and just come up with a way to protect all of the trees that you're planning to protect. And I think a construction fence would be okay. You might want to put the boards around it if you think the trucks are getting, but they shouldn't
be going that close to the tree.
Not that close. Yeah, we should be okay. But the little maple, that's pretty close. But
I would say that the good thing is that this is fill, not taking away. So if they can minimize the fill as they get toward that edge, maybe make it a little bit steeper. But that's much better than cutting when you're cutting. Because then they actually cut the roots. This is more of a suffocating the roots. And the rule of thumb is if you have more than 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches, you can put a little sand under it and then the loam, just because a little bit more air can get to the roots. It's suffocating the roots that is the issue. And do it with small equipment, not compacted roots. That's it.
Allison, what is the line? What is the line of demarcation as far as the health of the tree?
Well, I mean, you're right that the canopy, I don't know where the canopy isn't shown here, and often canopies are not symmetrical.
Sure,
they can go one way or another, be very asymmetrical. So it's really hard. I can't tell from this where the canopy of the trees to remain are. Like the bigger trees, obviously the 22-inch oak, that could have a 50-foot canopy, 60-foot canopy. But I don't know if it's grown in the forest, then it won't. You see what I mean? So because they're going up to the sky, they can't spread out like a great big white oak in a field, So, without knowing where that canopy is, I think that chances are that those trees will be okay because it's fill. It's not a lot of fill. It's not cutting. It's when you cut, that's when, it's like you can put on weight, but if you cut off your arm, so a little bit like that.
Hey, Allison, for the sake of education, the shape of the canopy or the direction it's going is that related to the health of the roots of the tree? Or is it?
Sometimes it is, but sometimes it isn't. It all depends on if there's bedrock on one side, it'll go the other side. Often roots will go uphill and not downhill because they hold it. You know, the tree is going like this, so there's more roots uphill. And without knowing, you know, what's going on underneath there, you don't know exactly where the roots are, and they go beyond the canopy, or in a direction the canopy isn't. So it's, you know, it's a little bit, you know, a good arborist, or, you know, me who's looked at trees forever, you know, almost 50 years now. I can make good educated guesses where roots are, but I think in this particular case, if they're very careful and they have the tree protection fence and they fill as little as they possibly can at that edge, that those trees should do okay.
Thanks, Allison. Thank you.
I feel like I didn't get everybody. Maybe Stephen?
Yeah, no comments.
All right, there's still a lot of trees, but I guess this is where we're at. So are we satisfied with everything else about this? Deb or Clay, you have any other comments about this project?
No, so you're happy with the ratio of trees coming out to trees going in, making them up with shrubs?
Yeah, we've allowed that before.
Okay.
So I think, because what was the final? There's 13 trees are coming out.
I think 20.
Yeah, so there's 24 shrubs and 20 trees. So that 4 shrubs and 20, I mean, 4.
So instead of the 6 trees, they're doing.
There's 24 shrubs.
Yeah. Um,
And then the other question, one of the questions I had was that I had run my wetland bounds along the 50-foot. Did you want them at the limit of work? How do you?
You mean the monument?
The monument, yeah, with the plaque.
I think at the 50-foot is okay. I mean, that works for me. I don't need them to. I don't know if anybody else has an opinion, but I have no problem at the 50-foot. Frequently, we actually put them at the 25-foot, but this is a thick wooded area for the 50-foot, so that seems appropriate. Does anybody have an opinion on that? Monuments going at the 50-foot buffer. Okay, any other questions from the commission, or is there anybody in the audience that has any questions? Nobody's in the audience?
Nobody in the audience.
Nobody's in our audience. I'm sorry for number 122 Richardson Drive that you have to wait so long. Okay, so if we are happy, we are ready to close this hearing. I mean, we may be not happy because we have 13 trees that are coming out, but but we're getting 20 trees and 24 shrubs, and it's
And sorry, we were told exactly where they were going to be.
Exactly where they're going to be.
Okay, I didn't see it. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, where the new trees and shrubs are going to be. Yeah, they use dots all over the plan.
Okay, I saw something I couldn't tell. Okay, I'm good.
Move that we close the hearing for 15 Heather Lane.
Second.
All in favor? Allison.
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Artie.
Aye.
Stephen.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Have a good night. Okay, so we have one more item that is on other business. I believe 122 Richardson Drive, DP file number 234784, discussion on restoration plantings. The applicant is here. Is it the applicant homeowner? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. This is Ashraf Sloan.
You're on my list. And how do you pronounce your last name?
Halimadine.
Halimadine. Nice. Okay. And you want to tell us what your request is?
Yes, Jen, so the, hopefully you guys got the letter that, that I forwarded to Clay, but basically, when we built this new construction, our proposed kind of plan, the Concom plan involved, taking care of obviously all of the roof runoff, and then having installing a dry well, a Caltech, with proper downspouts going to directing the water. Guys, you guys have to be quiet. And then also using permeable pavers for the patio, and also finally having the plantings, which were the 33 plantings, the specific species indicated by John Rockwood, planted kind of right where the water was being discharged from the pipe, which has created kind of a stream, in the wetlands in the back. The project was prolonged. We finished construction in April of 2019, and we had presented originally. Most of you all were there at the hearing in April of 2017. So we, after we kind of moved in, we were already in the summertime. It was hard to get all those native plants. There was not much available. And so, so we were just kind of getting settled in. The year passed, the summer, didn't get to it in the fall. Pandemic hit. And at that time also, we got the notice that the order of conditions was expiring. So I was able to, do the paperwork and get the extension. And then right away got those plantings in. John Rockwood came by in the fall of 2020, so October 2020, and found that the plants that were proposed to be installed were in fact installed. However, they were in a slightly different location. They weren't kind of, in the periphery of that water discharging area, which has kind of created the proximal kind of wetlands area, but more so on the left side. And kind of thinking about why that was done, we had a plan from April. I guess that was the plan that we initially brought to the committee in April, and then we had a revised plan in May. And I bet that was the plan that was on my computer, and that's what when I have so many documents I gave to my landscaper. So we basically, so he pointed out, well, the plants aren't exactly where they were supposed to be planted, but they are living, and they're all doing okay. And so I was reaching out to the commission over several months to try to kind of figure out and get some direction on, what needs to be done. Is this okay? In addition, we had also talked about giving up some lawn area, which was already, which is there, like 8 to 10 feet, I believe, or so, which was not carved out, which was not given up. And so Clay kindly came out earlier this month and looked at everything. He, there's been kind of good naturalization of around the plants. You can't really see the plants that well, obviously, because there's everything else going around them. But there is Asiatic bittersweet, which is rampant throughout. There's a tree, which I'm not sure exactly what kind of tree, but it's like about 5 or 6 feet away from the pipe that discharges all the water. And it's filled with Asiatic bittersweet, as is all the vegetation. And even there's a tree in between mine and my sister's house, who's my neighbor, which is probably about like 20 or so feet away. And you could just see it's kind of coursing its way up through that too. So, we wanted to have a discussion about kind of what, what you guys would like us to do in terms of, do you want that lawn kind of given up? Is there any way that we could just deal with, I can get a professional to deal with this Asiatic bittersweet if it's really gonna take down all these 33 plants that I've, planted and as well as kind of these trees and all the other nice vegetation, the nice wetlands. And so I just wanted some kind of direction before we do anything else. And
you know, work on an as-built and all of that too, you know.
So
Well, managing the bittersweet is definitely something. Clay, did you have something to add to this?
yeah, so I met out there with Ashraf, and I apologize. The plan of record, the plan that's up on the screen right now was the original application plan. And as noted, there was a revision that was contingent on receiving the order of conditions. At the time this was approved, originally the plantings were going to go along this side of the BVW, kind of above this head wall and back. And the commission did request that the lawn area be regrown essentially at a minimum of 10 feet from the edge of the wetland. So giving up, you know, something like 4 to 6 feet of the lawn area back here just to kind of round that off. And the proposed plantings were pushed more towards the front to kind of reestablish a little bit more of a buffer here where this outlet pipe is. And so as Ashraf has mentioned, when we were out there, we did identify that the plantings went in according to the original plan rather than the revised, the final revision. And so as they're looking now to close out, the question is, rather than making them replant everything, because the planting list was fairly extensive, there was quite a few plantings and they're essentially in. The lawn is currently still at the limit that it was before, and all the plantings have been installed. So it didn't make sense to have him just replant or transplant all of the plantings to the forefront here, especially when a lot of them have taken very nicely back here. But rather getting an idea from the commission as to what the remedy would be to correct this as they get ready to close out the CSC and work with John Rockwood to do the monitoring of those plantings.
Does there need to be a correction? The plants are healthy and they're in the ground. I mean,
Yeah, I certainly don't think that we need them to move those plants that have been planted. There might be something as far as either, you know, giving up some of that lawn to get a little further away from the BVW at that point, and maybe it is like adding 2 or 3 additional plants, basically are near that 18-inch concrete pipe. But also, what about the bittersweet? Is that something that we should be focusing a little bit on? Is there a way for him to manage that a little bit better as part of a way to protect this BVW?
Yes, so that was one of my recommendations when we met on site, was to propose taking care of the bittersweet because it's currently growing kind of along the edge habitat here, and it's made its way into the back. It doesn't look like it's impacting specifically the plantings, but I'll pull up a couple photos. The area that was meant to be restored has really come in nicely. It's nice and thick. This is where that head wall pops out, is right over here. So as you can see, there are trees at the limit of lawn, as well as an understory, and the bittersweet is just growing kind of rampantly through there. But this is the area that was planted through the back here around the other side of those, this stand of trees. So it is grown in nicely. This would be the area essentially from about here across that was originally requested to be relinquished as lawn. But one of the things that we had discussed mentioning to the commission was instead implementing kind of long-term monitoring of the bittersweet, getting rid of it and keeping an eye on it over, you know, several years or however long they own the property, to make sure that it doesn't really establish as strongly as it currently is trying to on this edge habitat, and keeping it from really establishing both in these trees and further back into the mitigation plantings.
Do we have good direction to provide him, or maybe John Rockwood already has, on how to manage that bittersweet?
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
sorry, wait, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we were out in the field and I pointed it out to him, and we did discuss how to identify it, what it is, and you were gonna, it sounded like you were gonna elaborate.
Yeah, so my understanding is that it doesn't involve just cutting it down, but rather applying a wetland approved herbicide to the cut down kind of stems.
So, you have to get somebody who is well versed in this and knows what they're doing. And I've been in touch with John Rockwood, and so I'm sure he can, give me a lead or provide me some professional that can actually take care of this.
Okay, so that's your intention, is to hire somebody. You're not planning on battling this bittersweet on your own.
No, I mean, there's poison ivy back there. Like I'm busy enough as a physician. We have 3 girls, a 2-month-old. No, I'm not going to take this on.
It's not what you're taking on.
Yeah.
So what is the condition of your permit as far as you have an extension and
We have an
then?
extension until May 2nd, 2022. John basically basically provided a report, or at least an observation, and kind of looked at the health of everything as of October 2020. And then we were going to have him kind of come back out, depending on kind of what you guys, suggest and what you need in terms of additional monitoring report,
Okay, so commission members, let's go through and see what people's thoughts are. Peter?
No comment.
Stephen?
No comment.
Artie?
Sorry, no comment. Sorry about that.
Bill?
No comment.
Allison?
Comment.
So Allison, you're the one I needed.
Oh,
Well,
okay, one comment. Oh, Janet, one comment I forgot because so much time went by. I would not transplant the plants.
Yeah, I don't think we should transplant anything.
Okay. Leave them alone. Yeah, I
But
mean,
what about, the idea of not requiring him to give up any more lawn, leaving it basically what we're seeing in this picture, but battling the bittersweet? And how long do we require him to do that? I mean, is that a forever thing? Is it a come back in May when his order expires and he
I don't think you can do it forever, but I think that would have more effect on the wetland, more beneficial effect in planting, a few little more shrubbies. So I think that's a good point that Clay made.
Okay, Sue, do you have anything to add?
No further, no further comment.
Okay, Clay or Deb, do you have a suggestion for us to move forward? I mean, because I think we all are in agreement that removing of the bittersweet and trying to battle that is beneficial to this wetland. So
I agree that the bittersweet right now is extremely aggressive, and I think knocking it back, while it may not eradicate it forever, it'll certainly help to allow those mitigation plantings to further establish. A lot of them look really good, and that area behind the trees here is really coming in nicely. But there's only a couple of the bittersweet vines kind of starting to come in back there. A lot of it is just really aggressive here along the lawn. So I think keeping it at bay and giving the other things a chance to kind of establish a bit more would be most beneficial at this time.
So this is a discussion, so we don't have to make any vote or motion or anything, but is the idea that, okay, he works with somebody, John Rock would hire a contractor to work with this bittersweet, and then when he comes back for his certificate of compliance, shows us what he's done, and that's kind of what is going to happen. But even though that's not written in any order or anything, we're just gonna put a note in the file. Is that I'm just trying to think logistics and process, and what do we make sure so that if maybe he'll come back in May, but he might not come back for 5 years. Not that we don't believe that you're not, but you're a busy man. So do we okay, and come back in a year and tell us the progress, and do we kind of have what do we do?
Yeah, I would recommend just having staff issue a memo kind of recapping this discussion, and then asking them to include the bittersweet in the final monitoring report. So maybe providing a status from how it looked last time John Lockwood was out there, or how it looks, going into the fall here, and how much of it has been physically tackled by May. While it isn't a long-term regulatory promise to keep at it, it certainly shows progress towards keeping it back for at least their season.
Great. That sounds like a very reasonable plan. Is that okay to you? For you?
That sounds
Dr.
great.
Salamander?
That sounds great. One question I had was, and I can ask John Rockwood this, but when is the best time of year to tackle this? Like, is there a better, in terms of better visibility of the, I mean, I imagine the bittersweet looks like everything else at the time of, like just when everything's, you get closer to the winter, I'm sure everything will just kind of come down, but any recommendations in terms of with your guys' expertise?
So who's our invasive species expert? Clay, is that you?
I don't know, aside from pulling it on trails, I don't know that I'm that.
Maybe Allison.
typically.
Allison might have something.
Well, I mean, polygonum, you want to do it in August.
Okay.
Because what happens is that the food, instead of going up to the leaves, is coming down into the roots, and you want to kill the roots. Is that true also of this vine? I can look it up and see if that's also true. That's true for, the terrible knotweed.
August is the time? Here we are. We're in August.
I mean, it's getting a little bit late, actually. It's getting to be almost going to be dormant.
Okay.
So.
All right, so make the phone call and
Get up.
have somebody come on out.
Okay. Okay.
Great. Awesome. All right, and Deborah, Clay, you will put a memo together so that we have it in the file for when they come back to us for a certificate of compliance.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Any further questions? Anybody have anything to add? Thank you very much for your patience. Dr. Salamunden.
No, thank you.
Only
Thank you,
seeing
everybody.
half of the room on the
And
screen.
thanks, Clay, for coming out and just providing some kind of guidance. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you. Have a great night.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, so we have a few things that, so that was everything, right? Do we have a meeting minute? Do we, which meeting minutes do we have to review? That was, you have set them in the file, Clay. You remember what date was?
It was December 3rd.
December 3rd, 2020. Okay, so for anybody who read those meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2020, and maybe was at that hearing?
They were great,
They were great. Thank you. Thank you.
as usual.
Appreciate that. Okay, 8 meeting minutes. Okay, Janet, Sue, Artie, Bill, Peter, Allison, we were here. So I need a motion from, I think one of those people, Sue, Artie, Bill, or Peter, or Allison, to approve the meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2021. That was a very relatively short meeting. It ended at 8:15.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Stephen,
Abstain, I guess.
Peter,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Yeah, aye, great. Thank you very much. Meeting minutes are approved. Any enforcement or violation updates that we should have discussed? Great.
No.
Okay, so now we have a few orders to discuss. I think Deb and Clay have a new process for us so that we can zip through this, right? Isn't that the goal?
Yeah. So just being before other conservation commissions and such, it seems as though you guys having to sit here and read through the findings, it doesn't really make sense. The special conditions are kind of the important part. So we're gonna try to move away from you having to read the findings. They're also easier for us to draft after the meeting, once we, go through the process with the applicants. So Clay, if he's drafting some findings, I'll review them, and Elisa in the office will also review them. So there will be more than one set of eyes on those. So what I'm thinking is we have our general boilerplate conditions. And so Clay and I are going to draft special conditions that aren't boilerplate for each of the hearings, and go over those with you and see if you agree, you want to keep them, if you have additional conditions that you want to add, and vote based on those. So if you're comfortable with that, going forward, we're planning on, when we upload your information for the meetings, we'll put the draft special conditions, including highlighted conditions that we're considering for each of the hearings. But we figured we'd start it tonight because we have so many hearings. So if you're comfortable with that method, that's what we're planning on doing.
All right, well, let's start with the first one and see how it goes.
Okay.
So is 83 Rolling Lane, because 75 Wilson, determination of applicability, did we actually vote on that? Did we vote for a negative?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do anything else. That one's done. So
right.
83 Rolling Lane, what do we have?
So the special conditions for this project, outside of the stock conditions, include allowing them to, prior to the installation of the infiltration system, a soil test pit shall be excavated in the area of the proposed system, and a certified competent soils professional shall determine if the area will adequately infiltrate as proposed. And then if it cannot be, they'll have to propose an alternative means of recharge for the runoff, and that the construction of the pool, patios, and retaining walls will not commence until after the stormwater has been certified, the stormwater location. So this is that project where they wanted to conduct the test pits. They wanted to start the work to get the construction vehicle down there. It's a hard site to access, so they weren't able to provide us with the test pit information prior to closing because they need to start some of the work up top. So the heavier items, the pool, the retaining wall, and the decking, they cannot start working on until after they've had access and determined the soils are good there, or gotten approval from you for an alternative layout. The other special conditions include erecting permanent signage to be posted with the pool infiltration equipment, stating that prior to winterization or other draining of the pool, no chemicals are to be added for 2 weeks, during which time the existing chemicals in the pool will be allowed to dissipate. And
I don't mind doing it this way, except it'd be easier to see it. So did you send those to us, or can you put them up on the screen or something?
yep, this one was actually drafted because we weren't sure if it's going to close last week or not. Let me pull this. So this is the special condition regarding the soil test pits.
Okay. That makes sense. Like, no, once I see it, I'm like, yeah, of course. It's hard to hear it.
This is the wording for the signage for the pool drainage.
And this becomes our standard wording when we have these.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And then they will have to provide an operation and maintenance plan signed by the property owner when they request, either at the time or prior to requesting the CSC, to just make sure that the homeowner is apprised of the operation and maintenance of the stormwater unit.
Comment?
Good.
about the pool water, that now that I have a pool, a lot of people, when they winterize the pool, they put in a very long-acting chemical. It's slow, it's like an algaecide, it slowly goes all winter. It's a very low level though, so that it's not like a slimy mess in the springtime. This is what I was told. I don't know what it's called, but it's not gone in 2 weeks. I just wanted to say that.
Well, don't you like the chlorine and stuff that you typically use for the summertime, that you stop putting in for 2 weeks?
No, you stop putting that in, yeah. But this is
And
something
then you drain it a little bit to lower
little
it
bit,
down.
and then you put in this long-term it's a long-term low-level algaecide.
After you've drained it.
After you do it, yeah, after you, that's right,
Okay.
after you do it.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you're
That's
gonna
okay.
drain the whole pool, for whatever reason, in the in the spring, let's say.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm not saying that's gonna happen all the time, that's a one-time.
Right.
event.
How often do people do that? Not very often.
Unless they have to do something to the pool.
All right.
There's something wrong with it, and so it's rare, but I'm just saying that, the chlorine goes away, clearly, all that, but this other thing, this other algaecide, which I never heard of before, lasts all winter. It's kind of it's a new news to me, so.
Okay. We'll have to see what happens when people start draining their pools. Okay, so are we ready did everybody understand what those conditions were going to be and are okay with them? It's just us now, it looks like. Is anybody in the audience?
No, just my backup cell phone.
So can we just talk? Or do we have to raise hands and so everybody could just be like, okay, yes, we're good, or is that too complicated?
Fine.
Okay. So anybody have any comments or concerns? No. Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions for
83 Rolling Lane.
83 Rolling Lane DP file number 234870 as discussed?
So moved.
All in favor? You
Aye.
just say aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Can we discuss, should we just go to, that one's being continued. 68 Wilshire Park, DP file number 234873.
Or unfortunately, I don't have it to put up, Janet. But special conditions, let's see. So we are requiring that they give us the detail for the rain garden, the paver detail and the erosion control, and add those to the plan.
And the wall.
And the wall. So I'm going to have a special condition that that those are required before we'll release the order of conditions.
Is that what you do? You have a special condition on the order of conditions that you don't release the order of conditions until you have the plan?
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know. It just seems like, well, now you've given them the order of conditions, so obviously you have the plan.
Well, I don't have to put it if you don't want. If you
No, it's fine. It's fine. Right away. That way we always know that there's another plan that has a different date on it, so that's fine.
Okay.
Like this one on Richardson. Okay.
Yep. A special condition regarding the rain garden, any plant substitutes to be approved by staff prior to installation. Requirement for tree protection for the ash tree.
Yep.
Let's see. And we need to get the revised plans prior to giving them the order of conditions. So let's see, that's what I had for additional special conditions.
Anybody have anything to add to that?
Waivers.
Yeah, you're gonna have to vote on the waivers.
Okay, so what do people think? So this is the one with the corner and they're putting the rain garden in at the bottom. So, so first we have to vote on allowing them to work within the 25-foot no disturb zone. So I need a motion to allow work within the 25-foot no disturb zone for DP file number 234873.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, what do we think about, they are planting in theory, but they're also building a wall. How do we feel about it?
They're actually, it's in the same footprints as the original one.
Yeah, supposedly. Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
fine with it, no problem.
You don't have a problem with it? Anybody have a problem with it?
Not I,
Right.
not I.
Okay, so do we want to, we're going to make a motion to release the $1,000 waiver fee. Waive the waiver fee.
Give the waiver fee, exactly.
Do we primarily waive the waiver fee related to how much work is related to on our part, hence Deb's part or Clay's part? Is that the main?
Sometimes, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
one of the reasons to do it, as
That's
long as
one of the reasons. And when they're doing things like planting,
mitigation.
like
and
when
stuff.
they're doing a planting restoration in a wetland, we frequently waive it, but they're building a wall and a rain garden. I mean, yeah, they're doing stormwater management, but it's not like they're restoring the wetland. They're building a wall.
We've run into that before with the wall, haven't we? But I'm wondering, I'm trying to remember what we did.
The wetland is outside their property, and I think the area that's in their property within the 25-foot is a disturbed area already, kind of like a lawn area right now.
Yeah, and it has these rocks on it that in a steep slope. So they're just defining it. You know, we've all kind of built a wall. I mean, I don't really have an opinion either way. I could go either way. So if you want to grant the waiver, fine. If somebody feels like they shouldn't grant the waiver,
I'm in
I'm
favor
fine
of
with it.
granting the waiver.
Anybody else have an opinion?
I'm
We have
okay.
a motion on the table for granting the waiver.
Second.
Didn't you give the motion?
No, did I make the motion?
You made the motion. You can.
Second.
Okay, all in favor with granting the $1,000 waiver fee, waiving the waiver fee? Say aye. Aye. All right, great, thanks. Okay, so now,
Janet?
Yep.
Are you going to be strict about it being a real rain garden, or it's just going to be like a vegetated swale?
no, I think it needs to be a rain garden. It has to have 9 inches of depth. It has to hold some water. It can't
And the
just,
soil has to be the special soil and a little, well, you're
Yeah,
gonna
the-
have to, you know, you're gonna have to, I don't know if that landscape architect's gonna know what that is, but never mind.
supposedly he's done a lot of them and he's gonna give a detail to Deb.
Okay, good.
She said that he's done lots of rain gardens. So we're getting a detail on the plan showing with rain garden. They should have the right soil median. It should be working as a rain garden. That's the idea.
Right, that's why the detail is important, I think, on the plan.
The detail is important on the plan.
If it's not right, then what happens?
Well, if he's gonna have water trickling down his wall, if he
But I
doesn't
mean,
contain enough.
We're not gonna give him a word, right?
COC,
Yeah, when he comes back for the certificate of compliance, we gotta show that his rain garden is viable. But we're certainly not gonna go and make him then dig up and put a dry well in.
do you want any kind of special condition as far as the COC and the rain garden?
And we'll have the monitoring of it, right? Or
I mean,
it should have more than 75% living plants. I
was
think.
this rain garden sized properly for the roof runoff and the patio and, do you know what I'm saying?
It's just a small, yeah, it's really, the addition is on top of the deck.
Oh,
that's
it's just the
already
addition.
impervious.
Oh.
It's just it's not the whole house. It's
Little
just a
baby thing,
small
okay.
addition. And really,
Okay.
it's a small, like a stairwell and a new deck or something.
Yeah, okay, I thought it
It
was.
wasn't a
whole
lot
house.
of
Looking at it,
impervious.
I'm going like, I don't know how that's gonna work, but, okay.
Yeah. Well, I think he's gonna wash it out when he gets those pipes in there, but we'll see how he does. If they design it well, because there's good amount of space.
Okay.
It's a little angle. There's not some, it's more
Tiny.
space. Yeah, we'll see. Might, a level spreader, it will all trickle over the wall. It'll be very pretty. So they'll monitor it, they'll provide a plan, the showing that it survived and that it's functioning as a rain garden when they ask for the certificate of compliance.
So we're gonna require the 2-year monitoring for the rain garden plants.
Sure, yes.
Okay.
And I think we need an as-built for the rain garden.
Okay.
To show that has some depth to it.
Okay.
Might be hard
Because
to
you're
do.
making a precedent here.
It's 9:30. Can we just come up with a? Well, I think a rain garden is a great idea. I think it's in a small area and it should totally function well. And they
So the weep holes aren't a thing. The weep holes, we don't think that'll screw it up.
No, I'm not that worried about the weep holes. Oh, well, the water will drain through and it might go through the weep holes. It's not gonna. I mean, it's still infiltrating. Even if it goes out the weep holes, the rhododendrons are gonna grab it. Those rhododendrons will be well watered with all the roof runoff. Okay. Have we talked about this enough? Anybody else? Okay, so can we have a motion to issue the order of conditions for 68 Wilshire Park, DP file number 234873?
We have.
We have what?
Haven't we, okay.
And we did. No, we didn't do that one yet. We just did the waiver.
Oh, the waiver. Okay, sorry.
You want to make a motion, Sue?
I move that we pass the order conditions for 68 Wilshire Road, DEP number, what?
234873. Great. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Great. Okay, are we up to 98 Grosvenor Road, DP file number 234875?
Yep. So they need to add the backwash area to the plan behind the shed. So I won't release it until I get a revised plan showing that. Allison asked that the plantings, that the red maples be staggered. So that can be
Just a little bit.
Mhm. Yep.
It's a little bit like 5 feet, so they're like just. Okay.
So they're just not in a straight line. The pool signage that Clay has already described to you. We'll add that. Do we need a test pit to be done where they're relocating the?
I think it's basically lateral. They're pretty close before. They'd already dug up the whole backyard, so it's fine.
Okay, so we don't need that. And do we want a 2-year monitoring of the trees and the 3 shrubs?
Yes.
Okay.
Did anyone care? I think we do. Yes. Yes. Peter says yes. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think that is it for that one.
Okay, so can I have a motion? Did we already have that motion? Do we have any more? Oh, that was, we already had the other motion. Okay. We don't need any waivers, no 25-foot, no disturb zone, none of that.
Right.
Okay, so now we need a motion to issue the order of conditions for 98 Grosvenor Road, DP file number 234875 as discussed. Second, and would Sue and Stephen, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, 15 Heather Lane, lot 1. NGWP number 19. Do we have
Okay.
some of that?
Yeah. So for this one, permanent bounds at the 50-foot buffer zone.
Yep.
Special condition for that. We'll have the 2-year monitoring. I'm
Yep.
gonna add a condition about the tree protection
Yep.
that we discussed. We're gonna add the orange construction fencing
Mhm,
to the erosion control line.
mhm.
I will add that. And I think that's all we had for extra.
Anybody else? Anything extra on that one? Okay.
Do you
so-
want me to put anything about minimizing the fill towards the edge where the forested area starts? Allison, I know you were talking about adding sand or to not suffocate the tree roots.
It's just, it all depends on how much fill that they're gonna add at the base. I mean, I don't think they're gonna add, it's tapering out, so.
Okay, so we don't need a special condition.
I was talking about if when you're really adding a lot of fill, you can actually add up to 6 to 12 inches of fill, depending on the tree. But it's good to have 6 inches of loam and then sand below that, if it's more than that. But in this case, I think it's gonna be okay. I think we just, have the fill just say as little as possible.
Okay. And adding a operation and maintenance plan at the end.
Yeah.
The COC.
Do we have that? We have that operation maintenance plan on all the other ones, don't we?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever we have an infiltration. I think that's it for that.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the order of conditions for 15 Heather Lane, Lot 1 as discussed?
So move.
Right, good. Did somebody second that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. Do we have to do anything else?
One more to go.
One more to go?
The amended.
53 Heather Lane. Did we already vote on that? The amended order?
We
Oh.
motion,
Yeah, we voted on the amended. We don't have to change it at all, do we? We just
No.
have to- We just voted.
No, they
that-
already voted on that. The
I-
partial, sorry, go ahead, Clay.
I forgot to include the motion for waiver of the 25-foot for 83 Rolling Lane for the 25-foot and the fee for the 25-foot. This project, all they're doing within the 25-foot is removing an existing play set and planting 2 trees. So it's a
yeah.
improvement.
So that's an easy one. So, okay, so we need a motion to allow work within the 25-foot no disturb zone for 83 Rolling Lane, DP file number 234870. Remove it, play. Can I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Sue. All in favor? Aye. Aye. And now we need a motion to waive the waiver fee for work within the 25-foot no disturb zone at 83 Rolling Lane, DP file number 234870 to remove the straight play structure and plant the 2 trees, which is an easy one in my mind. So I'm ready to say yes.
A second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Artie, are you voting?
Yes, I am. I thought I said aye. I thought I was off mute.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? We voted for all these other things, right? The certificate of compliance and all that kind of stuff.
So,
You can have a whole pile in my garage again?
yes.
All right.
Good work.
Included in that file, there is one COC that's already been issued back in 1998. They just need a new copy for recording. So it doesn't require a motion because it's already been issued. It's already a completed project, but they just need a fresh copy to record at the Registry of Deeds. So you'll see signature stuff.
Thank you. Are we good? Anything else?
just two little things. So Clay is going away, so he is not going to be at our next meeting. So Elisa is going to step in and run our Zoom meeting for us. Because she runs the DRB meeting, so she'll be able to handle that, I'm sure.
There's a very good chance I will not be here at the September 9th hearing
Okay.
at the moment.
I had forwarded about the table at the Harvest Fair to you guys, assuming that we're gonna want to have a table.
Yeah, so we had a table at another fair. What was that fair that I think Artie and Steven maybe were at? It was inside. Oh, Bill, you were
Oh,
there.
no,
It was in-
that was a big green day in the town hall.
Yeah.
With a energy efficiencies, a renewable energy type day. That was a couple of years ago.
Was it
Yeah,
storm
didn't we
water?
have-
Yeah,
That was about 3 years ago, actually.
Was it storm water that we covered?
Yeah, it was. And we had pamphlets and a poster or
Yeah.
something.
So we have some time, but just to put it out there, what we think we might want to have at our table. But we can talk about it at the next meeting. It's fine. Okay, and I just had
We
one-
need
one-
if we had like some
Please.
wetland plants, like, not the
Okay.
wetland plant person. But it would be neat if we showed wetland plants so that people would be able to say, maybe like. some
And we could
invasive-
also have invasive plants.
Yeah, have some like invasive plant, and like you need the plants though, instead of just a picture. Pictures are helpful, but
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
a little wetlands. We could probably get little trees and give them to people.
Yeah,
We really
okay,
want.
well, start thinking about it. We'll talk about it at the next meeting, and Janet, if you want to email me ideas, feel free.
That was
Just
it.
one thing with the South Street thing, the DEP, since they made that comment, they will be looking at what we issue. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they can't just walk on the street between their two houses.
Well, I do know why, because I parked today on the street, the next street, whatever the street was.
Because of
and
the
walked
traffic?
to the- It was terrifying. I
Okay.
only went one house lot and I was terrified.
I mean, how often would they come down and look at a project of this? I don't know, minute.
They're not gonna come down.
Yeah.
DEP
I can't
is
imagine that.
won't be coming
Of
down.
this small nature, when would they ever come down?
Yeah, they're not gonna come down, and Ed Olson's not gonna go look at it, so we'll have to see what they come back with.
So,
All
yeah,
I have. So this will go smoothly, but are you guys comfortable kind of with the going over the special conditions and saving the?
yeah, I
findings?
do like to be able to see them on the screen though.
Yeah,
That
no,
helps.
but you will have them for the next meeting.
That will be helpful. Yeah,
You're
I mean,
good.
we don't, Peter is the one that reads them. Peter, you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody. So can I guess.
Good work.
we need a move to-
Thanks, Sue.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, third.
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye, aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night. You guys are welcome.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Aye, aye.
Good night, John Boy.